In this episode, I'm going to look at a Panasonic SA PM 27. This is a 5-disc CD changer with a cassette deck and a bi-amp amplification system, and it has a bit of a problem. Let's take a look. Well, today up on the workbench I have a Panasonic CD stereo system. This is an SA PM 27 that was sent in by a client. Now, the fault that was claimed on it was that it does not turn off, but that actually isn't the fault. The not turning off was actually the unit was in demo mode. To cancel the demo mode, you have to either set the clock using the remote control or press and hold the stop key on the front that says demo. With it in the standby mode, press and hold the stop key until it says demo off, and that will cancel that cycling display. I'm just going to connect this to my existing system using the headphone output because I don't have the bi-amp speakers with this, and it's not a problem with the amplifier. So first, let's just test it for to see if the radio works. I'll turn it on again. It says goodbye. Okay, maybe it was already on. Tuner. Hello. It says on the screen here. FM. Let's try tuning this thing in here to my own little test station. You can figure out how to tune it. Okay, that changes the presets. How do I go into direct tuning on this thing? Probably need the remote control for that.
Cass died choking on a sandwich. Then he said,
okay, it only goes 87.9, and mine I think is on 87.5, so it's not going to tune it in.
But
anyway, we know that the radio works. How about the AM band? Should be able to tune in my AM test transmitter on 1440. I guess if I hold my antenna or hold my hand near the antenna terminal, it'll work. Yep, that works. Okay, so we know that that part works. Let's just see whether the tape deck works. So I'm going to press tape. The tape deck opens. Let's try a tape in it and see whether it will play a tape on these. And we'll try play. Whatever play is on this thing. Tape is, that's play. Well, that didn't sound good. It stopped. Try rewinding the tape. Okay, tape's rewound. We'll try playing it again. It's not playing a tape. Now remember, I rewound the tapes at the beginning. I did press play. We heard the thing like it's going into play, and it stopped. When I eject the tape, we'll see that the tape didn't move. It is still fully rewound. So that tells me that the capstan is not spinning. It's not pulling the tape through. That's one of the problems with this deck. It's probably a belt that's bad. Let's check the CD player on this as well. Now, the reason I suggest that it may be a belt that's bad as opposed to, say, a motor, I don't know whether this is a 2-motor system or a single motor system that operates this unit. It could be a bad capstan motor if it's using more than one motor. That I don't know until we get into it. Let's check the CD player out. Now, the CD on here, it holds 5 discs, and if I press the open, close button here, it should open the CD changer, and there's the trays. Of course, there's no discs in it, so think there's any disc in it. So there's tray 1. If I press the CD change, it should change to disc number 2. Wait a minute, pushing the wrong button. CD change. This should change it from CD1 to CD2. Ah, that's how the discs come out on this thing. Interesting. And then you can press the CD check button. It'll open all the discs up so you can see what's in it. So when we press the CD check, of course, I was wondering why it wasn't playing disc number 1. Nope, it's on disc number 5. So let's see if it'll play. If I close it up here, let's see if it'll play disc number 5. And how you open this thing up, incidentally, is you press the CD open button and you press the number that you want to open. So CD5, open. And that'll open up the CD5 position. Let's just see if we can play CD number 5. See if it's going to read that one. And it does. So I can't let this play because I don't want to get hit with any type of a claim. But we're going to test the CD player out and make sure the CD player is working. It may just be a cassette problem that I have to resolve on this unit. But I'm going to load this up with a few more discs and we'll try it out. I'll put my royalty-free disc in and we can play that one. So let's load the Music Bakery into disc number 1 and we will play that one. Disc 1. I can play this one and not have to worry if it'll play a CDR. That I don't know because this is a fairly old unit. And some of these old units didn't like to play CDRs at all. A lot of the old ones didn't play CDRs. But it appears to be playing this disc just fine. I'm going to let this disc play for a few minutes and make sure there's no problem with the CD changer, and then we'll work on the cassette deck. Well, the unit's been playing for quite a while now and hasn't skipped a beat. One thing I can certainly say is that little hybrid amplifier I built seems to sound better than this Sony amplifier that I'm going through now. Anyway, CD player appears to be working okay on this unit, so let's concentrate on what we know is not working, and that's the cassette deck. So to open this unit up, I need to remove some screws from the top or the back, and I believe from the sides. As I say, I've never been into one of these units. We sold them where I used to work, but I never had the privilege of taking one apart. I'm sure I worked on one, but what would have happened was my assistant would have done the removal of the cabinet and handed it to me apart, which is what we did a lot of the time. I had an older gentleman who worked with me for a while there, and he wasn't a technician. He had no basic background other than what he had learned working in the shop. So his responsibilities were just to take things apart for me and put them together, which was kind of a good arrangement at the time because that would free up my time of disassembling a lot of devices. Personally, I've never really been a big fan of these micro all-in-one systems just because they're such a pain in the butt to work on. Okay, they should come apart now. The whole side should lift off of this thing. There go the sides. Sides lift off, and then the deck should lift out of here as one block. If I'm not mistaken. There we go. That's exactly what it does. The deck lifts out as a block. And it's connected by means of a couple of cables down to the main chassis. And I'm just looking to see if there's any belts broken on this thing. Let's take a closer look here. The loaded cassette here, and just see what happens when I push play. See if the capstan shaft is trying to turn. Well, the capstan's turning. I can feel the capstan shaft, or I can at least feel the. You can feel that when I turn it by hand here, I can feel the capstan shaft is turning and that belt is not broken. But it looks like the pulley has got a second groove on here. So there might be a second pulley, or second belt that connects to that pulley. I should take a look and see if that goes somewhere. So I'm going to remove the deck itself from the rest of the cabinet so that I can actually observe the operation and see what is causing this thing not to operate. There's 4 screws around the edge of the chassis itself, and then the mechanism should, don't worry, I got the power turned off here. The mechanism should separate from the top. I should be able to put the mechanism through its paces and see what it isn't doing correctly, why it's not engaging. It's like the pinch roller is not engaging to the capstan shaft. Where'd that screw go in there somewhere? Somewhere there's a screw in there. There it is. So I should be able to lift the mechanism down. Tape out. Take the top off of here, and I should be able to get this whole top cabinet out of the way. This has got the eject button attached to it, so we'll just put that out of the way there. Now I can observe what the mechanism is doing or not doing when I operate the machine. So if I take my cassette and I drop my cassette in here like this into its position, like it would be if it was loaded, I should be able to turn on the power and go through the motions and see what exactly is happening on this unit here. Tape. Interesting. It's not doing what it's supposed to. Oh, there might be a catch that I have to engage on this side over here to tell it that the tape is down. Not 100% sure, but there might be a switch over here that has to be pressed. It should be in the mode to operate. Now the solenoid is not engaging. Interesting. I have to actually pull this catch forward ever so slightly because when it's open, it signals a switch. There's a switch in here that gets signaled when the mechanism is open. I was looking for the switch. There's got to be a switch on the bottom here that gets tripped. Because if I try to push any buttons like this, as you'll see, nothing happens. But if I pull this catch back just slightly, like that, now it'll try to go into its motion and time out. You can see, if you look down here, you can actually see the capstan shaft is still spinning. If I get the camera in a little closer, when I go to play, you'll notice the capstan shaft is turning, but it's not fully engaging. It's like the tape is sticking. Is the brake not coming off? That's strange. Tape moves a bit and then it stops. Interesting. Let's just see what happens when I put it into motion without a tape in it. Probably won't do anything because it's smart enough to figure out that there's a tape in it. Well, for one, that pinch roller is just about toast. Let's service that. It's very slippery. That might be why the tape isn't moving. The pinch roller itself might be no good. So we're going to take the pinch roller off here and we're going to put some rubber renew on it and try and soften it up a bit because this thing here is as hard as a rock. And it should lift up. I'd be careful with these plastic pieces because I'm sure they're really brittle because of the age of this thing. But the pinch roller just lifts up like that. As you can see, this pinch roller here is well, it's not in very good shape. We're going to soak this roller and see if I can make this roller work a little bit better. We'll try that first. So we're going to try some MG Chemicals Rubber Renew on this roller and see whether this will help soften up the rubber on here. This stuff's usually pretty good at restoring old rollers that haven't completely fallen apart. So we'll just roll this stuff on. We're going to let it sit for a while to soak in, and then we're going to wipe it off and see whether we're going to get this roller restored to the point where it'll pull the tape through. It might be just the roller itself has become so slippery that the tape's not being pulled through on it. So I'm just going to roughen up the edge or the surface of this slightly by just rubbing this pinch roller slightly on some aluminum oxide just to try and break the surface tension here because it's really hard, and I don't know whether this roller is going to come back or not, or whether we're going to have to try and find one. Now, based on the age of this unit, I think the chances of finding a roller for it are going to be slim to none. But sometimes these rollers, if you just scratch the surface of them a bit, get the oxidation off, then the xylene mixture that's part of Rubber Renew, it's got xylene and ethylbenzene and methyl salicate as the chemical makeup of this stuff. So you want to try and avoid getting it on your skin, because I'm sure it's not good for you. And don't pour this stuff down the drain, because it says you don't want to get this stuff on your skin like I'm doing now. You wear gloves. It's dry now, but there's still a residue on here, right? So this is what it has to say about it. May be fatal if swallowed and enters airways. Suspected of causing cancer. Causes severe eye irritation. Causes skin irritation. Flammable liquid and vapor. Toxic to aqueous life. Obtain special instructions before use. Do not handle until all safety precautions are read and understood. Keep away from heat, sparks, open flames, hot surfaces, no smoking, keep container tightly closed, use non-sparking tools, use explosion-proof electrical ventilation lighting equipment. This stuff is this stuff's pretty powerful stuff, and I really probably should be using gloves before I handle that, but I'm not going to get the stuff on my hands. I'm going to dip a Q-tip into it. And again, close the top up tightly. And I'm just going to handle this by the edges, and I'm going to wipe this onto the roller again and see whether it will. Oh, here we go. Now it's going to take, you see now, because I've loosened off the debris and the oxidation on the surface of the roller, now it's going to soak in and it's going to soften this up. So my confidence level is a little bit higher now that I'm going to have success. And yes, I'm immediately going to go and wash my hands after touching this, because I really should be wearing gloves when I'm doing this type of work. But you know what? We didn't used to get, this stuff's been around forever. This rubber renew, it's been around, you know, in all the time that I was in service, from the late 70s right up until the 2000s. This stuff was around. It's still around. You can still buy it. And they didn't used to have all the warnings that they have on it now. But I haven't got cancer yet. And we never really took any precautions working with the chemicals that we used to use. And we used to use a lot of chemicals that never had any precautions listed on them back in the day when we used them that they do now. But now that I've finished handling this, I'm going to go wash my hands. And then we'll put this thing back together. Yeah, it's not, yeah, it's now it's got a lot more grip to it. It's not as hard as it was before, so maybe, just maybe, this is going to work. Okay, we'll put the pinch roller back in place. Let's see if that, I think that's in the right place. We'll see if that helps. So load of tape. Hey, look at that. Okay, the tape is moving. I don't have my sound plugged in. We'll just plug the sound in and see if I can get any sound off this thing. I would say that's affirmative. We have sound. Let's go to rewind. Tape deck is working. Stop it here. Okay, we'll clean the rest of it while I've got it apart. We'll clean the pinch roller and, we'll clean the capstan shaft and the head while I've got this thing apart, and then I'll put this unit back together and we'll do some more testing on it. But all that was on this, of course, was the rubber had really dried up on that pinch roller, so I was able to get some very fine aluminum oxide paper. Just take the shine off of it and then get some rubber renew. Let it soak in. That made the surface a little more sticky. Okay, let's put this thing back together. We'll test it out again. So to do that, I'll make sure the power is off here. Got to reassemble it to the front cabinet. We'll just pop it in place. Drop it in place. There are little pins that go through the holes on the outside, the alignment holes that line up. Get the 4 screws back into the chassis. And then we can test this thing again before I put the unit back together. We'll test all the features on here. Make sure that it records and plays as it's supposed to. And then I can send this one back to its owner, who in this particular case has been a man that I haven't seen in a long, long time. He was actually my grade 6 elementary school teacher. I was doing some, he still lives in the same community that I live in, and I was doing some work for him at my day job, and ran into him and we started talking, and he said, hey, I've got this this Panasonic system. You might be able to help me.
And there it is. It's working.
And how do I stop? Stop. I'm just going to go ahead here. I think there's
Probably stuff on the other side of the tape. I can record on the other side of this tape. So let's rewind this tape back to the beginning, and I'll do a test recording on the opposite side. So I've cued the tape to the beginning, load the tape in, and I'm going to close up the CD changer. I'm trying to remember how to work this thing. I think I have to select CD, and then I can hit the record button. If I hit CD, it should say reading. Okay, I want to record this. So if I stop this, pause, and if I press the record button here, there it goes. So now this is recording. I'm going to let this thing record for a while, and we're going to see how this recording turns out. Okay, coming up and we're finishing my recording here. I'm going to stop it. This is how I stop it. Okay, recording is stopped. Let's rewind the tape. I'll go back in here, stop it. I'm going to rewind the tape back to the beginning. What button am I pushing here? I got to push this button. Rewind. Okay. Rewind the tape back. Make sure the tape works. Then we can put this unit back together, send it on its way, and keep another unit out of the landfill and put it back into service. Quite often this happens with old equipment that's been sitting around for years and hasn't been used. The rubber pinch rollers get kind of hard on them. Other times it's just from improper care. People using alcohol, rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol, for example. It will, over time, dry out rubber rollers and cause, in this case, tape sliption, where the tape was actually slipping and wasn't being pulled through the transport. I had this recording here for a while, so we're just rewinding the tape. And as soon as the tape gets back to the beginning, we'll start it on playback. There we go. Now it's back at the beginning, and play. And we should hear what I just recorded. Music from the Music Bakery. There it is. Sounding good to me. So I'll put the side cover on it here. Side cover on this just clips in place and is fastened in by a couple of screws. That's how it clips in. Show you on the other side. The side cover goes kind of in like this from the top, and it should just clip in. Goes in from the top like this, and clips in like that. Okay, I got a couple more screws to go in the back, but you guys get the idea. There you go, all done. Tape is working. The CD player is working, as we just confirmed. Take the disc out. Put the rest of the screws in, and I'm going to send this unit back to its owner. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you again real soon.